as a company, as an ecosystem, it's all about providing a fairer computing platform, right? So that's not just about lower cost, lower barrier to entry. It also means that technically anyone can become a cloud supplier via our ecosystem. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world and what time you're listening to this. This is Pete Hill of CUDOS, and we're bringing back the CUDOS cast for at least a few episodes anyway. So let's see how this goes. But I'm proud to be back in the chair and back in the hat as well for all the viewers back home. So yeah, on this CUDOS cast this week, we have a really cool guest, my friend Andrey from Dstack. Andrey, it'd be great if you could jump in, just give a kind of intro to yourself, who you are and what you do.
Yeah, thank you, Pete. And thanks everyone for watching this. So I'm Andrey. I'm the founder and CEO of Dstack, a company that is building a replacement for Kubernetes for managing AI workloads, and which I'll be super happy to talk about in more detail. Well, before Dstack, I'm coming from engineering background. Basically, I used to be a software engineer for many years. And at a certain point, I also worked for roughly 10 years at JetBrains, building dev tooling in various roles. Most recent was I was a PM for PyCharm. So if you hear this podcast, some of you might use PyCharm or other JetBrains products. So you can partly blame me for that. If you don't like something there, or maybe vice versa, you like something. Yeah, and 2022, quitted JetBrains to fully focus on Dstack.
Okay, excellent. So 2022, you started developing Dstack, and you've just recently launched the platform as well. So that's pretty good going. That's some fast development. How big is your team?
We're still super small, and I think we are super slow as well compared to where we want to be. Right now we are just 5 people, but all of us are engineers. Basically, we don't have anyone on the team who is not writing code.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can say, with Kudo and obviously CUDOS as well being software based, we all think we're too slow in terms of what that roadmap looks like and how much we want to deliver. But that's software development, right? And there's always things come up that kind of delay it and cause a little bit of slippage, unless you've got a monumental team size. But when you look back, though, I don't know if you have the same feeling, but certainly when I look back, I think, and whilst I'm not the developer, or on the development team, you kind of look back and go, wow, we've achieved a lot over that time. So it feels slow looking forwards, and building it. It feels really fast when you look back and see what you've achieved, see what you've actually finished.
Yeah, totally. Like the first feeling is, of course, like we're super slow, and also a part of that is because, well, everything else in this industry is so fast that's why basically you benchmark yourself against what's happening in the industry. I think what changed my feeling also is this ChatGPT moment, of course, and Llama moment as well. And I assume a lot of people out there are actually looking forward for Meta to release Llama 3 any day soon. But yeah, this moments basically changed the feeling as well. That's why, for example, we personally at the team sometimes feel like we are like behind a little bit about what's going on in the community, but in a good way, because there are so many things going on, and maybe we'll have a chance to talk about this, that we see more and more opportunities to basically use AI and to build on top of it. If, for example, I look back, and basically, as I was saying, our purpose is to build a replacement for Kubernetes for AI. and that's kind of the main vision that we have, the main mission, let's say. And it sounds pretty challenging because, right, we are a small team. Kubernetes was built originally by Google, and it's also today maintained by so many large players in the market. So it's super challenging task. And one of the biggest challenge was actually to find those few things where we should really focus on. Because in the beginning, it was like, okay, so we want to abstract out the cloud compute. But cloud compute there are so many things like compute, network, like storage, and also cloud providers use different stack to run it on their side. For us, it was quite challenging to find the most universal abstraction over it, and we are still trying to, improve it. But I think we are doing a good job in a way that we dropped many things and decided not to focus on them, and find those few. Basically, that was the most challenging part of it.
Yeah. The most challenging part is quite often, what do I drop? Because all of it feels like your baby, right? That thing that you want to see, grow up and done in the way that you want it delivered, and have that kind of control over the kind of delivery of it. So, and with that, comes other things. Oh, okay, well, actually, we need a bit of this. We need, and so yeah, working out what to drop and what to focus on is a challenge in itself. So I applaud you for that. So I think you alluded to it a little bit in what you were saying about, how you were seeing the market, what the kind of demand, the changes in patterns out there of what people are looking to consume and how they need to consume it. But what was the kind of main gap in the market that you saw that Dstack is there to fill?
I would have to probably say that we are still in the exploring state, in terms of that we try to learn as much as we can from every user that is using Dstack. And so far, we see two main challenges that Dstack helps overcome. One of the challenges is, let's speak a bit about enterprise AI. So especially since LLMs and diffusion models releases, more and more companies have more pressure to adopt AI, and a lot of those companies, they understand that they want to control what models they use and what infrastructure they run it on. Means they have to consider whether they are using the managed platform or whether they are controlling the platform. And for example, if a company decides to use a managed platform, it could be OpenAI, it could be, or it could be, for example, let's say a platform given by the cloud provider. A good example of that is AWS SageMaker, or like GCP or Vertex AI. Those are very mature platforms that offer pretty much everything that, well, you want. With the only constraint is that it is a managed platform and it's a proprietary platform, and basically you kind of have basically full lock into that particular vendor. They introduce many new features, and the more features they introduce, the more locked into one particular vendor you are. And basically, at a certain point, you find your team basically just using all of those enterprise proprietary features every day, and it's a thing in itself. Well, many companies, of course, looking for a less one vendor lock-in kind of a stack. That's, for example, why Docker is such a great thing. Terraform is such a great thing. Kubernetes is such a great thing, because it allows an enterprise to more rely on open source stack and fully control that, rather than having basically have this lock-in. And That's why many companies appreciate like this container orchestration, because it helps them rely on open source frameworks, on open source models. And that's what we see Dstack helps companies do. So basically, let's say a company wants to manage the AI workloads. They might not necessarily want to be locked in into one particular cloud. Either company just wants to diversify or use multiple clouds, and then that's when Dstack comes in and offers, okay, so you can use this Dstack orchestration platform, the open source version of it, and then at any point you can switch between cloud providers. And most likely that you won't switch because you really like your cloud provider, but you'll still be able, and you'll address that possible risk, whether if you want to switch.
So it provides that kind of that portability, right? That ability to be able to port across. There's always the the well-known saying that the bigger companies will always try to build a moat around their services, right? So it keeps the customers within that ecosystem, and that moat stops them from being able to essentially escape that ecosystem, or makes it very, very difficult. So, what Dstack and what kind of container technology is allowing, and this is what Dstack is harnessing, is that drawbridge, which is allowing you to kind of cross over that moat and then to move it over. So yeah, really, really important. And we've been seeing the kind of market move in that way for quite a while now. So yeah, that greater kind of flexibility obviously just gives companies and businesses and teams a lot of assurances that they're not going to be stuck. And if there is an alternative solution, a better solution, one that can be run side by side because it increases the level of resilience within their business model, then that's a good thing. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's one more thing I also would like to mention, which in my view is quite related to CUDOS Compute as well. Today, the top cloud providers such as AWS, GCP, and Azure, they offer already mature enterprise, let's say, platform for companies, and it's working well, even though you have a full vendor looking there. At the same time, we see the era of new, basically next-gen cloud providers that are eager to provide GPU in a more flexible way, so the company can enjoy significantly more affordable pricing, be less constrained by these long commitment contracts. And I guess CUDOS is a great example here, because it empowers companies to get compute at a much more affordable rate and leverage that decentralized ecosystem as well. And for Dstack, it is a part of the mission to enable cloud providers like CUDOS to offer AI enterprise-grade platform on top of that compute. So it basically fills that gap between GPU clouds and AI enterprise platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, completely agree. And that was what kind of got us excited when we started talking to you, Andrey, a good few months ago now. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, the angle of CUDOS, our Web3 product, which is called Intercloud, but also the underlying network, which was CUDO Compute, is all about that kind of, that fairer model, that democratization, if you like, and having that flexibility. And that's because we've come from that space beforehand, and it was a pain point for us, and yeah, it was something that we wanted to deliver on. So we're strong believers in a kind of partnership model, and if there are engineering teams out there like Dstack that can offer that value add on top, and that can easily integrate into our infrastructure layer below, then that's very complementary, right? And we as a unit, as a team, we grow quicker in that way, and we're able to serve more customers in a more affordable way. Anyway, I'm going to stop there because that's not the sales pitch on CUDOS or Kudo Compute for anyone that's listening. But I just wanted to kind of to really kind of pick up and elaborate on that point. So thank you very much. So I have a question. I always like to put something a little bit fun in there. Well, some people will see this as a little bit of a fun question. Some people will see it as oh my God, you've just you've just kind of solidified what I was thinking in my head all this time, or whatever it's going to be. But with everything in AI that's happening at the moment, are we all enabling our own species extinction with the continual development of it? What's your thoughts on that?
I like this one. Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to stay serious while answering this, because there are many dimensions, and it depends on how serious we want to answer this question, and how realistic we should we want to be. Because on one hand, I kind of appreciate that vibe around AI, that's like it's not going to be the same, like everything will change. I like this vibe because it's true. Everything is going to change, and it's not a joke. It's not like it's just reality. Some people just think that it's like a joke, but it's not a joke. Everything will change. And what fascinates me is like how people underestimate it, because people don't take it seriously. For example, my wife is a 3D designer. She's like 3D design and interior design. So basically, she really likes like to design like interior, help choose different kind of things for the interior. I'm not an expert in this field, but it fascinates me how this particular industry is changing. And it is funny because you might want to comment on that as well. For example, 3D designers back then used to use these GPUs to render like 3D models and renders. Now it is possible to use the same GPUs. However, it's so much more efficient and doesn't require that manual labor by people basically manually designing that, because today it is possible to train your model and basically make these renders not in a static way, but in a dynamic way, created for you much faster, like significantly faster, without this ray tracing technique behind. And that's just one of the examples how AI transforms the job, one particular job. And if, for example, I was a 3D designer, let's say, I would be very much worried, because basically over a couple of years, the whole industry gonna change entirely. And in my view, it is important, if you do that, basically you should consider what will you do tomorrow, basically how you will basically stay in that industry and stay competitive. At the same time, often people are a bit skeptical, like they don't like the change. However, this technology can make so much more powerful you as a creative person. It doesn't replace you at all. It just gives you so much more powerful tools to be so much better and most important, more competitive in this field.
Absolutely.
So the same goes for musicians, for writers, for lawyers, for anyone else.
Yeah, I completely agree in every industry. And by the way, if anyone is listening to this and thinking there's a little bit of heavy breathing, I have my dog next to me and he just started snoring halfway through there. Not on what you were saying, Andrey. He's just, he doesn't understand. But just a little bit more than that. I completely agree. I think, with why do we build technology in the first place, right? Is to optimize something in our life, right? And that can be on a physical level, a pair of glasses, right? We build those glasses because it optimizes the way that we can see. We invent vaccinations and inoculations because it optimizes the way that our body can protect against things. So you come into you kind of software into AI, and all we're doing is really creating better productivity, better efficiencies, optimizing the way that we can do things. And AI has helped us to accelerate that because of the way that it is able to learn from often decades and decades of data that's being collected beforehand, right, in both a manual and a computerized way, and then it's able to take out some of the hard work by quickly and efficiently kind of putting that data together and turning it into something useful for us on our behalf. So I completely agree, and this is every single industry, and I think sometimes we forget that we've been using AI for a long time anyway. All of the apps that we're coursing through on our phone have been using this in some kind of form or fashion for a long time as well. I think that the association with kind of Skynet and Terminator and the end of the world and Armageddon is really more kind of people looking at kind of artificial general intelligence, that AGI, the robots when they start walking around and taking over and stuff like that, which is a little bit on that front. We're probably not too far away from that, because even when Jensen was on stage at NVIDIA GTC earlier this year, a couple of months ago, he was joined on stage by a few humanoid robots. So there is that mixture of kind of fear and joy, I guess, what we're developing. Good. All right, let's move on from there. So I'm keen to, and you did kind of allude to this earlier as well, but anything within AI development, at least, and the services actually that are developed afterwards. All right, so ChatGPT, stability.ai, all of these kind of services, and then the platforms like yourselves that help to develop that. So Dstack. It all needs a lot of infrastructure, right? This is quite intensive stuff. You mentioned about kind of GPUs and how they come into play. And how that's advancing, the way that we produce outputs as well. So, what does that to somebody that's not within this industry? What kind of scale is that on? Can you kind of give us a little bit of insight into the infrastructure that's required for the AI world?
Right. Yeah, this is a bit a tough question, because, for example, when we say the word scalable, most of the time this word is just used to say that it's expensive. Most of the time, even though you think you want to say it's like complex to build, but in the end you just want to say that it's expensive for somebody to manage that, because it needs to be managed. Scalable means that somebody manages it. Scale means that a lot of people are using it, relies on it, it's reliable. So it's a bit difficult to answer that question, because, well, it can be answered on many questions. As a consumer, I really want the service to be cheap and fast. How it is done, probably somebody else should take care of it.
It's somebody else's problem.
Yeah. On the other hand, for example, if you are a software engineer, then there are many things you could think of, like how to make it possible. What is also interesting, because Dstack designs the orchestration layer, we're not managing their data centers ourselves. We let basically companies leverage the data centers running by other companies, basically cloud providers. And what we see a lot is that managing data centers is a totally different thing. Basically, you have to just think of the network, cables, compute, electricity, all of those things. And it's just this thing is so complex. Just setting up your racks and ensuring that you have electricity, you have these backups, you do it alone without any AI or without any orchestration. It's a challenging task. That's why we built Dstack, because we want everyone focus on the right thing. If you are managing data centers, you focus on that and you do this job right, and you ensure that hardware is fully reliable and fast. And also it's available in certain specific regions. That's important because that's the foundation you build on top. If there's that foundation, doesn't really matter what you do, like whether you use AI or not at all, which orchestration you use. So basically, the most fundamental thing is to have that data center reliable infrastructure. And what I also notice that what really matters is how reliable it is, or how fast it is. If you say, for example, hey, it's reliable or it's fast, without providing a number, it's nothing. It is very important to focus on the metric, like the downtime, like the performance, and basically you need to focus on those percentiles, not the absolute number, but percentiles. I think for cloud providers, this is the most important thing to focus on. Basically, nothing else matters beside those few numbers. But then, of course, orchestration is very important. But again, the value of orchestration is not scalability. The orchestration, let's say, challenges simplicity, because orchestration aims to simplify all of that and give the end user a very simple abstraction over that super complex hardware and infrastructure. Yeah, well, that sounds, I guess, too complex to grasp.
It's very well said, and maybe it was a little bit of an unfair question as well, Andrey, because the infrastructure part is really what we're doing, right? So we're seeing that enormous scale and enormous kind of infrastructure base that is required for for this world, and everything that's running on, that needs to run on top, including the kind of what you're building with the orchestration, right? So yeah, I guess just to put it in the context to anybody that's listening, we are talking about 1,000 times more computing power within the next kind of 5 or 6 years to what we have today, and we already have an enormous amount of computing power out there. So that's kind of the scale of what we're talking, and it's like any infrastructure. If we put computing infrastructure aside and think about road infrastructure or power grid infrastructure or whatever that's going to be, if you need to multiply that by 1,000 in 5 years, that kind of gives you an idea of the task ahead, the challenge ahead for everyone. So excellent. All right. So what is your big goal then? What's the kind of North Star for Dstack?
Well, there are a couple of things, and I guess that's all relevant also to CUDOS as well, in my view. Would also love to hear your thoughts on this as well. So first one is we really want to drive the adoption of the open standard, like Dstack as an open standard. That's why we want to make this let's say engine vendor agnostic. And what is tricky is to understand why it is so much important, especially for vendors, because there might be some contradiction, right? So you might see some contradiction. We say vendor agnostic, at the same time we say value for vendors. Because it's vendor agnostic, it is the way to create value for vendors, because we design the orchestration frameworks the way that vendors don't really have to think of this. The end customer are enterprises in the end. They actually going to use that vendor agnostic framework to train models, to do developments, to do deployment, to manage it at scale. And this layer should be very optimal. And the more vendors use this layer, the more feedback there is, the more contribution there is, the better this layer, so everyone can focus on the right thing. So that's one very important North Star, let's say, to drive it as a standard together with vendors, making sure that it works across vendors. And second one is, in the end, how customers are enterprises. And what we want to achieve to make sure that Dstack can serve enterprises, and it offers everything that an enterprise needs, because there are so many things enterprises need on top of just orchestration, because it's also tenancy management, like different kind of security compliance things, and managing team management and all. And this is also something that we are very much interested in partnering, like with cloud providers like CUDOS, to drive that enterprise adoption, because then we can offer something that is worse for the enterprise, and it consists of both their actual compute and their AI enterprise platform. So that's kind of a thing. But curious also to hear what you think.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting point. So I think for us as a company, as an ecosystem, it's all about providing a fairer computing platform, right? So that's not just about lower cost, lower barrier to entry. It also means that technically anyone can become a cloud supplier via our ecosystem, right? So it's given everyone that kind of opportunity as well. But it's also about the environmental piece and making sure that's done in a sustainable way, because this is a very energy intensive industry, as you can imagine, right? It uses a lot of electricity, and that's only growing and growing and growing, especially if we're going to multiply that by 1,000x. So as much use of renewable energy or sustainable energy, such as kind of nuclear, as possible. From an audience point of view, and this kind of speaks to your enterprise part. Our vision is very much in the long run that we want any device to be able to connect. So even if you've got a gaming tower, you can become a cloud provider to the network. But the reality is that the main consumers of cloud are enterprises, and that doesn't align with what they need in terms of security and bandwidth and guaranteed uptime and so on and so forth. So there's going to be multiple stages. There's going to need to be a psychological shift, a market shift, a technological shift, I think, before the enterprises can start using those kind of end type devices for the majority of the kind of workloads that they're executing. So yes, I think we align on how do that first North Star. How do we make it simpler, more affordable, more fairer for users? First and foremost, and the second North Star, and it's still those users, is making sure that is enterprise ready, that it's got the features in there, the security, the overlay networking, etc. That's more relevant to ours than yours on that, but that the enterprises will need to be able to secure and be able to run their environments in the way that they're familiar with. Excellent. So just signing off now, and Andrey, you've been an amazing guest, and it's quite nice to be back in this seat. I felt a little bit rusty at the beginning, but I'm so that natural flow is coming back in. So maybe we'll do another one next week as well. But yeah, you've been a brilliant guest. How do people find you? Is there any final thoughts that you'd like to sign off with?
Sure. I'm very easy to find at Dstack's Discord. Basically, it's a place you would go if you have any questions about how to use Dstack, or just share what you do with Dstack. And you can engage with their Dstack user community, but also with me personally. So invite everyone to join Discord channel.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And for everyone that's been listening, thank you very much for listening to the CUDOS cast. It's been a blast.
Thank you, Pete, and thanks everyone.